Psychologists of Reddit. What's the wildest case you've ever treated where it stuck with you long after they left your care? Burner account here. I was a resident psychiatrist in a state hospital back in 2017 when I met this man we'll call Mr. J. He was a 40-something guy, wiry, with these intense blue eyes that locked onto you like he was reading your soul. Admitted for severe delusions after cops found him wandering a highway naked, screaming about the signal. First session, he's calm, polite even, then launches into this story. He's a human antenna, chosen by aliens to broadcast Earth's collapse to a distant galaxy. Thus, is not wild on its own. Delusions are bread and butter in Psych, but he had details. Dates, frequencies, star coordinates. Said he'd been rewiring his brain by sleeping with copper wire coiled around his head. I'm scribbling notes, thinking schizophrenia, maybe psychosis from meth, but his talk screen is clean. Starting week 2, it gets weirder. He starts drawing these intricate diagrams of circuits, he calls them, claiming they're blueprints for the transmission tower in his skull. He'd stolen pens from the ward and scratched them into his mattress. One night, staff catch him peeling paint off the walls, eating it, saying it's conductive material to boost the signal. I dig into his history. Ex-electrician, divorced, no drugs, just a quiet guy, until this snapped. I'm fascinated but rattled. He's so lucid about it, like he's explaining tax law. We start antipsychotics, and he fights me, says I'm jamming the frequency. In the meantime, he's got half the ward chanting random numbers he swears are alien codes. Starting the 3rd month, he escalates. He smuggles a fork, bends it into a spiral, and jams it into his ear during group therapy. Blood everywhere, patients screaming. He's grinning. Says he's fine-tuning reception. He's rushed to the ER and they patch him up. And I'm in there next day, asking why. He looks me dead in the eye and whispers, "They answered last night. You didn't hear it?" I got sudden chills. I hadn't slept. I kept hearing static in my head, but it's just coincidence, right? Meds finally kick in after that. He quiets down. Gets discharged 6 months later, a shell of that wild energy. Last I heard, he's in a group home, staring at the sky. That case stuck with me. Not just the fork or the diagrams. Those I could rationalize, but how convinced he was, how he pulled me into his world. I'd catch myself double-checking static on my car radio, half expecting a message. Years later, I found one of his drawings in an old file, perfectly symmetrical. I'm not saying I believe him, but I've never shaken off the feeling he saw something I couldn't. Wildest patient I ever had. He made me question where delusion ends and reality bends.